Maryland football position battles are starting to take shape.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. So Maryland football position battles have been going on, and for a team that feels like is relatively new in terms of there's just a ton of new pieces all over the entire offense, defense, offensive line, quarterback, corner, wherever you look, there's a new piece somewhere on the defense. And so position battles are extremely important headed into camp. And I think a lot of it going into camp has been somewhat even, but I think we're starting to get a better understanding of guys that are going to play, guys that are going to be part of the rotation. And there's still a lot that we're trying to figure out. But I want to talk about some of the position battles today, what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, what I'm reading about, and kind of see what I think of this roster right now. Who do I think is potentially going to start in all these different things? But there's a lot of going on, and I think a team that brought in a lot of new players, that position battles and fall camp is actually really important. Whereas Maryland has had teams over the past couple of years where we've been pretty clear who the starters are going to be, who the guys are going to be. And there's always battles. There's always going to be position groups that you look at, especially on the offensive and defensive line. But it's been pretty clear who the starters are going to be and whatever the case is. Obviously, last year, the big part was the quarterback controversy. And this year, again, you start there with the quarterbacks. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm feeling pretty confident that Malik Washington's going to be the starter. I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm feeling pretty high based off of every report I'm reading is saying Malik Washington is going to be the starter. They're saying I would be surprised if Malik Washington is not the starter. Wherever you look, I have not seen one thing saying Justin Martin is going to be the starter. But that also supports my claim. And I just think Mike Locksley in this quarterback battle, I just can't see him not starting Malik. I just can't see it. I think that where he's at in terms of his job and things like that, I just feel like where the circumstances are, some of the politics, and in terms of the talent that Malik Washington is, I know that Mike Locksley, I feel like, isn't the type of guy to really force a guy into the scene if he's not ready. And we honestly haven't seen a ton with Mike Locksley with freshman quarterbacks. I do remember Talia's first year, but he wasn't a freshman. He had been at Alabama for a year, so he was already kind of up to everything and was already ready to go. But in terms of this quarterback battle and in terms of Malik Washington, we haven't seen Mike Locksley bring in a freshman of this high pedigree, so we don't know exactly how he wants to handle it. But to me, I just think he's going to be the starter. I just think he's too talented. I think he's too good. I think he's the best player in that room. And obviously, I haven't seen him play in live game action yet in the college level, but we haven't seen the other guys play either in live game action. But the way the players also talk about him being as advertised and things like that, I just think to me, it would kind of hold Maryland back. And I think it also puts people in the seats. It brings a new momentum to Maryland football. I just can't see Malik Washington not winning that position battle. And I'm feeling, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm feeling at an 8, maybe a 7, that Malik Washington was going to be the starter. Could be wrong. Last year was wrong. I went against some of the reports. And I was like, I don't get how we would bring in MJ Morris and MJ Morris not be the starter. I feel like MJ Morris has played more than Billy. He's done more. And then next thing you know, Billy Edwards trotting out there like everyone said. So part of it, you got to listen to the media a little bit. I know a lot of people are going to tell you the media is wrong and things like that. But in a lot of these situations, the media does know a little bit more than you would like to think that they know, but they do. And I guess I'm considered media as well. But the people that I've read, it's really been like, I'd be surprised if Malik's not the starter. So I think he is. So I'm going to be on a scale of 10. I'm at an 8 of Malik being a starter, but that's just one position battle. Another one that a lot of that is becoming really important is that receiver battle. We know that Jaleel and Octavian Smith headline that. Jaleel obviously transferred from Oklahoma. We're expecting a big year from really good player. And then Octavian Smith Jr. has been at Maryland now for the last couple of years and is a senior now and had big games last year, got outshined a little bit by Ty Felton and Caden Prather, two guys that are in the NFL. But I'm totally expecting somebody else to kind of branch on the receiver room. And I've talked about it over the last couple of podcasts, but it sounds like Ryan Manning is a guy that's winning that battle. You got guys like Caleb Webb, transfer from Tennessee, Mekhi White, redshirt freshman, highly recruited last year, Shalik Knotts, who seems to not have figured it out. And then you have other guys too. You have the freshman, Justin Devon, Jordan Scott, transfer from Florida State. Zymir Smith is still, I'm trying to figure out what to do with him, the freshman 4-star player, athlete that does a little bit of everything. But it sounds like Ryan Manning's been maybe the one of the best receivers in camp, if not the best receiver in camp. I have heard Jaleel's been playing well. We know what Octavian's going to do, but it sounds like Ryan Manning is that third guy right now. Haven't heard a lot about Caleb Webb yet in pressing, but who knows when the games start. I think Mekhi White's kind of next in line with Ryan Manning as the head-to-head guys that I've seen in the spring game. Mekhi White played really well, and also some clips of him playing really well. I just haven't heard anything of Caleb Webb and Shalik Knotts, two bigger body types of players, but Shalik Knotts is a senior this year. If it's not now, it's never. So we'll see what happens with Shalik, but I'm just not sure it's going to happen with him. So it sounds like Ryan Manning's winning that position battle, and I'd say Mekhi White's right behind Ryan Manning, but we'll see what happens, what ends up coming true. We still don't know exactly what's happening in that room. And then the running back room, it sounds like Deshaun Williams has impressed. We know Nolan Ray is going to be the starter to start the year, but it sounds like Deshaun Williams has actually played at a pretty high level. So expect him to balance out some of the carries with Nolan Reyes, along with Josiah McLaurin, sophomore back. But it sounds like Deshaun Williams, redshirt freshman, who got some carries last year, is going to play. So it sounds like he's going to play this year. He's a bigger back than Nolan Reyes. He was a 4-star prospect out of St. Francis. We haven't talked about him a ton, I feel like, but it does sound like he's impressed and that he's played at a high level, that he is going to get a good amount of time this year at the running backs, because I think we've been a team that likes to play different running backs. Last year, Roman Hemby got a good amount of carries, obviously being the lead back, but we played Nolan Ray. Nolan Ray got carries last year. We mixed some other guys in. So I would totally expect Williams to get a pretty hefty workload along with Nolan Ray being our lead back. But we know what Nolan Ray can do. We know kind of that juice that he has that's really exciting. But it sounds like Deshaun Williams is a guy that's pushing Nolan Ray and is also going to play a good amount. And then so I've talked a little bit about some of these defensive guys a good amount. It does sound like on the edge, and this is a big thing, camp, that everybody seems to be talking about, Sidney Stewart might actually be our best defensive player, is how people are making it sound. Like, apparently he's like locked in the start. Like, he's going to be a starter on the edge. He's played too good. And I forgot he actually didn't play when I was reading a little bit. I forgot he didn't play. It's hard to keep up with all these recruits, but I forgot he didn't play his senior year in high school because of eligibility things, I guess, when you transfer and different things like that. So he is a 3-star rated prospect, but you wonder, the way they're talking about him, the way he's developed, maybe his senior year, if he would have played, he would have became a little bit higher rated and it would have been a little bit more obvious going into it. But either way, we'll take a freshman edge rusher that looks like he's going to be the next dude for Maryland football on the defensive side of things. So he clearly has been the star in camp. He's headlining things, and he sounds like he's going to be a starter. Like, he's probably going to walk out with the number 1 defense. And Loxley's done that before. Remember Kellen Wyatt, who's now at Indiana, who I think we thought Kellen Wyatt was going to be a good player. He was solid for sure, but he started freshman year. Obviously you rotate guys in there, but Sidney Stewart, I think it's similar to Kellen Wyatt. I think he's going to be a little bit better than Kellen Wyatt, the way people are talking about him, but I think day one, you're going to see him starting on the edge and getting a lot of time there. And so I'm excited to see that, but it sounds like he's winning that battle overall. And then there's a position battle that I really still hasn't become clear. I don't know really much about at all. It's the defensive line. Cam Rice, Joel Starlings, Ian Thomas. I don't know. Cedric Smith, Bryce Jenkins. I'll be honest. I'm not going to act like I know. And I don't know what Lockley is going to do with these guys. I've always been I think a committee with the defensive line group, those interior guys, I think is how you do it, because I think just rotating them in and out. I don't know if there's a star in that room, but maybe the more guys you play, the more obvious it's going to become who's actually elite in that room. But I just think rotating those guys in and out and playing a bunch of different guys, I think actually really can help the Terps. So I think that's something that is really interesting, something that does matter a lot for Maryland football. But we're going to see how that battle, who actually ends up starting, because right now I don't know. I'll be honest, there hasn't been a lot of reports on it. I don't really know the players well enough to be because they're basically all transfers or guys that haven't really played. But I do like this by committee approach that it sounds like it's going to be. But that's definitely one of the battles that's happening in camp. There's a lot of different potential guys that can play. There's 7, 8 guys that probably can play. And you're probably going to get 5 or 6 in that rotation. Even 6 might be kind of a lot. But I think when you talk about 5, even you could really do 4, but maybe 5. So we'll see. I think the corner battle is coming more clear. I think Dante Joyner and Jamar Glasker are going to be starters on the outside. And then I think Braden Lee and Kevin Humes are right behind them. We'll get some spot minutes. But I just think they're going to have to wait their turn. I kind of wonder who's going to start at nickel still. I feel like I never know who's going to start. I think there's a couple of guys that have a chance. I think Lakeith Rowland, cornerback, has a chance to play there. Judah Jenkins is a guy that I'm really looking at. But I think that's still being figured out. And then I also wonder if maybe a guy like Braden Lee or Kevin Humes, I don't know if they're big enough to play that nickel spot, but maybe they potentially could try out there as well if you want to get your 3 best corners down there. But it sounds like Jamar Glasker and Dante Joyner are going to be your starters. And then safety, we know Jalen Husky's going to start. It sounds like Le'Veon Scruggs is going to be the other starter. I know guys like Messiah Del Home we're excited about, and Shamar McIntosh potentially as a sophomore coming into things. But it sounds like, and even Alex Moore too, can't forget about him. And then the transfer Gavin Edwards. But it sounds like to me it's going to be Husky. I mean, we know Jalen Husky is one of the better safeties, I like to think, in the country, but Le'Veon Scruggs as well. So those are just some of the battles that I've seen. But guys, definitely keep your eye out on everything. I'll keep talking about them, and it's become more and more interesting. Maryland football, who could they upset this year? Who are the top teams they play this year? Who could they upset? We'll talk about that next. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. I recently grabbed a couch off of Wayfair, and it's been a perfect addition to my home. The style fits me perfectly, and it instantly made my space feel refreshed and ready for the fall. This is the perfect time to get your home ready, whether it's organizing, upgrading your workspace, or making the weeknight's dinner easier. The delivery was fast and free, even for something big like a couch. It was so convenient to find exactly what I needed all in one place at a price that fits my budget. So get it organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. So I haven't really talked about this for this Maryland football team, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in the coming weeks, because I think last year I talked about this a lot more, but Maryland football upsetting a team this year. I think we're waiting for Lockley to get like a big upset win. And obviously this schedule, I think, makes up for Maryland to potentially actually get that. And I think we're definitely getting overlooked in the Big Ten. I think I've been so focused on our win total being low and us making a bowl game and different things like that I haven't been like, who can Maryland take down this year? I feel like last year I talked a lot about that. I was like, Maryland could upset Penn State or Maryland can upset these people. I forget who might upset. I think, before the season, USC was rated relatively high. I forget what they were ranked last year, but I continued to say last year, I was like, I think that Maryland can upset USC. Now, the USC victory last year, we did win, which was, I guess, a good prediction by me. But the USC team wasn't as good, so I don't know if it would be considered an upset. We were still underdogs at home, so I guess you would still kind of consider it one, but they didn't end up being as good as you might think. But they're still a solid team in terms of the grand scope of college football, but they just didn't end up being like a top 15 type of team. But so this year, Maryland's schedule is interesting, and the AP Top 25 just came out, and the ranked teams Maryland plays. We play number 12, Illinois. We play number 14th, ranked Michigan. We play number 20th ranked Indiana. So those are the ranked teams right now that are on our schedule. I don't think I'm missing anyone that we play. And when I think about playing teams like this, I think Maryland's really going to have the opportunity to beat somebody good. And to me, it lies between Illinois and Indiana. I think those two games are absolutely games that Maryland potentially could win. So we play Indiana November 1st at home. I'm honed in on that game. I don't know if Indiana is still going to be the 20th ranked team in the country when that they definitely won't be. They'll probably be higher. They'll probably be lower. They probably won't stay at 20. But I do think that team is interesting. I think there's some good players, and there's some former Maryland players, Kellen Wyatt, Roman Hemby, that we get to play. That's a game we can upset the Hoosiers. I think they and Illinois fall into the same boat where a lot of people are projecting them to be good, but it's one of those things where I think people think they're a little bit better than they actually are. And when the ranking comes in, it'll be like, oh, they're a top 15 team like last year. But I think we're going to have the opportunity to beat one of those teams. And it's going to be considered an upset based off of where they are and everything. So I totally think we can beat Illinois. I know they're ranked high. I know all these things. We get Illinois at home. And I'm telling you, they're a bit overrated. These types of things happen all the time. Like Illinois is one of those teams that, could go in the year and could do something cool this year for Illinois. But they also could just look a lot worse than a lot of people are expecting them. I feel like we see it a lot with these types of programs like in Illinois or Indiana that get ranked in the top 15 or the top 20. And we're going into the year expecting them to be pretty good, pretty solid. And then it's like, oh, they're barely a top 30 team when the year ends or something like that. So I think those teams are going to be good. But I think Maryland's – I just don't think my point is I don't think the talent gap's there where it's I'm trying to convince myself last year, oh, maybe we can beat Penn State. It's how are we going to do that? And I think the talent gap's not there where we get Illinois at home. I think it was either Illinois at home we get Indiana at home. Sorry, we play Illinois on the road. So I'll take Indiana as a team that we could potentially upset. Being at home, I don't think the talent gap's there. I think they gained a lot of players through the portal, especially Maryland players, but I think we can upset them. Michigan's interesting. Preseason 14th team on the AP poll. Coaches poll had Michigan at 14 as well. So the coaches poll and the AP poll is actually rather similar when you really look at them. But besides the point, I think to me, I do think we're gonna have the opportunity to beat Michigan. It's hard because you kind of think you talk yourself into it. They have a new quarterback. Tre Moore isn't as good of a coach as Harbaugh was. I think they're not as good on the outside in terms of the weapons. I think the main challenge is that offensive defensive line. That's why I lean towards Illinois and Indiana. I don't think those teams are going to dominate us up front the way Michigan potentially could. But with the freshman quarterback, Coach Moore hasn't gotten his legs under him. I definitely think those three teams, Maryland could absolutely take one of them down. Absolutely. And I think there's probably a good chance at it happening. Who knows? But Michigan's obviously tough to do, but I just think getting them at home as well, they might not be as good as a lot of people think they're going to be. Could be an interesting game to watch. Let's talk about Maryland's tickets. Mike Lockley, Maryland's ticket revenue. We'll talk a little bit about that next and why it's important. August 26th is officially FanDuel Features Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. Maybe do Kyler Murray or Trevor Lawrence, or crown your champion in August. You can make a bet for if you want to do like the Bills to finally make it to the Super Bowl, or if you're a DMV sports fan, how about the Commanders, or a parlay your division winner dark horses. Visit the FanDuel app and start planning your futures bets now, because futures is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. So I was reading this article about ticket shares last year, and so it's really interesting, and I think it brings up a good point of where a program is and the lack of kind of winning some games and being able to take the next step. And this is where I get stuck with Maryland football. Is the fan base big enough? Is the alumni network big enough? And those different things that you talk about that are so prevalent in today's college football, is that stuff big enough for Maryland football to actually become a program that we all want to see as fans, but what Mike Lockley wants to see, what that new AD wants to see, can it actually make that jump? Because I was reading this article, and it was like Maryland generated $7.27 million in ticket sales last season, dead last in the Big Ten. And that just says this. People don't care about Maryland football. They don't. And I know people, you guys that are actually watching this, you guys care. But in terms of the numbers to Ohio State, to Michigan, forget those schools. How about just medium schools like a UCLA or a Washington or a Nebraska? Those schools go crazy for their football team. Even Rutgers. Those schools go crazy for their football team. And being in the Big Ten, being Maryland, you wonder how Maryland can make that transition, how Maryland can up themselves to hopefully actually compete with some of those schools, because right now being dead last in that $7 million in ticket sales last season, dead last in the Big Ten, that is going to be tough when you're talking about trying to get people to come, like recruits and things like that. They like having that atmosphere. Like, that's important to recruits, is having an atmosphere, having people come and watch, and being able, like Penn State Whiteout. Like, you think that when the recruits come there, they don't fall in love with that? Like, that's tough. And our new AD has to kind of figure that out and how we can up that. And even with the NIL today, you just need to be making as much money as possible. I don't know how that works with putting it back in the NIL, but it's important to try and get that back in. And then you look at other big powers in the Big Ten are making around $44 million a year in ticket sales, where Maryland's at $7 million. That's like 6.5 more than what we're making. Like, that's a big difference. Or not 6.5, like 6.5 times the amount that we're making. Like, that's a big difference. I just think that we have to figure that out. Obviously, we're not going to be Ohio State or Michigan. I'm not asking you to be that, but there's a barrier there that it's like, I don't know exactly what you do. I know we don't have that same tradition as some of these schools, but in today's college football, that's just not getting it done. Being dead last in the Big Ten, like that's just not going to get it done. Players aren't going to want to get here. And I wonder what Lockley could do if we could put together better atmospheres, because he's been able to be pretty good at recruiting, pretty solid for what we kind of have put together. So it's just a thought. I was reading it. I thought it was interesting. Thought it'd be good for the last segment, but that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.